Welcome to the 76 Capital Leadership Series. My name is Wayne Kimmel, and I'm your host and also the managing partner of 76 Capital. And we have a show today. We're going to be talking about one of our amazing portfolio companies, and their chairman is our guest today. And what's happened with that company, how exciting that is. But before we get to that, as you all know, our 76 Capital Leadership Series is all about talking with the entrepreneurs, the executives, the athletes who are truly doing the next thing in sports. And that's what the 76 Capital Leadership Series is all about. And that's why we do these shows, and that's why we want to connect with all of you. So reach out to us via social media, whether that's on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you as the entrepreneur. If you have something that you're truly doing to change the sports industry, hopefully we can help each other and potentially partner. So reach out to me at Wayne Kimmel. You can go, again, 76 Capital across all the social media networks, as well as our great producer and director of marketing at 76 Capital at James Santor. James is doing a great job back at the station. But let's get to it. We have Dan Mason, the former CEO of CBS Radio. He's a broadcasting and cable Hall of Famer and the chairman of VSiN, the sports betting network, which was just acquired by the incredible sports betting company DraftKings. Dan, welcome to the 76 Capital Leadership Series.
It's a good day to be alive, Wayne. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It sure is. I mean, Dan, as chairman of VSiN and your involvement with us at 76 Capital, which we'll get into, but before we get into all your background, all the things that you've done, you must be really excited and very happy for the team at VSiN.
I am. The team at VSiN is going to do very, very well. And DraftKings has an enormous amount of resources now for them to take advantage of. I've thought through some of the specific ones. I don't know if we'll have time to share that today or not, but the wheels are already turning about how we can marry our content with what they do on their site. So it's going to be, by the time the content is incorporated into DraftKings, it's going to be a real good proposition for both companies. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so exciting. I mean, it really is something that's just amazing to see what's happened from the beginning of the company, your involvement at VSiN to where it is today, this incredible sports betting media network that's a 24-hour network today, and all the studios across the country. It's been a great growth story over the last several years. But before we continue with all those things, and Dan, we definitely do want to get back to the things that you said, how they're going to work in the future. Let's talk about you. And I think it's an interesting, an amazing story, sort of your background, and all the way up to being the CEO of CBS Radio. Tell us about your background, where you grew up, and how you got into the media world.
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and on-air disc jockey, overnight disc jockey, I might add. Graduated from college, but along the way in college, did some play-by-play sports at college. I love that. Got out, and pretty soon I realized that I wanted to be more than a disc jockey. And I would like to be the person who hires the disc jockeys. So I became a program director. Did that for a while, and I thought, maybe I'd like to be the person who hires the program directors. So I became a general manager. Did that for a while. Then I said, maybe I'd like to be the person that hires the general managers. So I became executive vice president and then on to president of Group W Radio. Then they merged with CBS. Now, that didn't happen overnight, Wayne. That took exactly 15 or 17 years to accomplish. So I just did it in 30 seconds for you.
Well, it's an amazing career, and you certainly were hiring some incredible disc jockeys. Some of the, in the likes of Howard Stern and some of the amazing people on the sports side of things as well at stations like WFAN in New York or WIP in Philadelphia. What was it like working with some of those incredible, radio superstars?
I would much rather work with highly spirited, talented people. It's much easier to pull back a little bit than to encourage someone to let go and pull forward. That's hard. But I was fortunate to be around so many on-air personalities who were just so darn good. I mean, they were the best of the best, I thought.
Well, what was one of the things that you sort of saw, from being the CEO of CBS Radio, with whether it was Howard Stern or Mike and Mike, the Mike and the Mad Dog, excuse me, these talents that were able to come on every single day and were there, and they were incredibly entertaining to their fans, and they had these rabid fans. What do you think kind of got them going every single day to be able to do what they do?
Well, their expertise level at what they're talking about is off the charts. I think you asked me what one of my most memorable moments were. Maybe it had to have been after Imus left the air at WFAN. That was a very tough time, and we were bringing in people into the production room and auditioning this one, that one, and we had Boomer Esiason, who we were really thrilled with at the time, but the show wasn't right without someone else, and we tried a number of people that just didn't sound that. Well, it wasn't that they didn't sound good; they did. It wasn't the right chemistry, and then along came Craig Carton, and I'm telling you that all of us involved in that show, we knew within 2 minutes that that's the one that's going to be it. And that was really exciting. And then, the rest on Craig's story and what Craig's doing now. He's coming back. And of course, Boomer had, I think we're talking about here 2007 when that all went happen with Don. But, it was a great run for those guys. And both guys doing well now. So I'm happy for them.
That's great. It's such great stories, and you were able to become, not only the one that kind of oversees all this, but I mean across the industry itself, across the country. I mean, you had you at CBS Radio. My understanding is that you were in charge of all the CBS radio stations across the country. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, whatever bad was going to happen, it was going to come my way eventually, and let
Well,
everybody else have the credit. And that was the way it went.
Well, we're here on our 76 Capital Leadership Series. It's a very exciting show because we're here with the chairman of VSiN, the sports betting network, on the right after when VSiN was acquired by DraftKings. And Dan, you can follow Dan at Dan Mason Sports on Twitter. And Dan was the center of that deal and very helpful in building VSiN with the founders. And it's been great, sitting on the board of VSiN with you, Dan, through that whole process. Going back to your radio career, you were just talking about was shifting these stations from AM to FM. For some of the young people out there that maybe don't even listen to radio anymore, don't listen to it as much as some of us would like. What was that? What did that really mean? I mean, because AM was the main place where sports was being listened, and then shifting it to FM, and what was the reason for that?
We could see over the years trends that were years ago. They would put out the percentage of listening on AM versus the percentage of listening on FM, and probably when we hit the early 70s, that began to shift, and it began to move away from AM. Of course, by the time we got to the mid 70s and early 80s, it was moving. So we knew that the future was FM. Now, it's interesting that I believe FM is still viable because it's about audio now. It's about podcasting. So it's not necessarily about radio, it's about audio. Who's got the best audio? Who's got the most compelling audio? And I think that wins at the end of the day.
Very interesting, very interesting. And Dan, so let's talk about it. You're chairman of the board of VSiN, the sports betting network that was just acquired by DraftKings. How did you get connected with Brian Musburger and Steven Shalansky and Bill Adee and the team over at VSiN?
It's a great story. It is. It's highly unusual, but I can relay it. It was about 2017, and I was doing horse racing analysis for the Horse Racing Radio Network. But I wanted to broaden that out a little bit. And I thought, okay, VSiN is doing some horse racing, not a lot, but some. So Brian and I met for dinner in New York. And it was pretty obvious early on, maybe 15 minutes into our dinner, that, they had at the time Ron Flatter, and Ron was doing a great job. And that they didn't need me for that. But it became pretty apparent that they needed somebody with more of the executive skills to help grow the company. So it's interesting. By the time I sat down to dinner, and by the time I walked out, I bought a percentage of the company. So I called my wife and said, "How'd your dinner go?" I said, "Well, I bought some of the company." And it's like, "You what?" Yeah, I bought some of the company, and I was just so amazed about. And I had done some homework up to that. It wasn't like I walked off the street and said, "Okay, I'll give you X amount of dollars." I was impressed with the Musburger family, and Brian and his dad Todd. They were just class people. And I got a little bit deeper and met with Bill and Brian. And this is another funny story. I go to Las Vegas, and this was early on in the days of VSiN. It was really tough for everybody. And Brian will probably kill me for telling this story, but I'll tell it. So we went to a really nice steak place there at the South Point. They had a very nice steak place there. We had a wonderful dinner. The tab comes probably about $400, and the two of them just look at me. I was thinking, wait a minute, it's kind of supposed to be the other way around, and they let me pick it up and pay for it. So, I hope Brian doesn't watch this, but that was a really funny story.
Well, what was it like? I mean, you have VSiN, which was just featured with Brent Musburger on CBS, the CBS morning show. This on the Sunday morning show, which has Brent, shows him in the studio. The beautiful new studios at Circa now. But you talked back at the South Point. When you first went to the South Point and you first saw the studio in the middle of the sports book, what did you think about? Did you think, what kind of came to your mind about what really could be built here?
I was really used to that because I grew up with radio showcase windows. There's those things have been around since the early '70s. So I'm pretty keen on to what people behind glass look like. Um, in radio forever, you would see a glass studio downtown with the disc jockeys working in it. So that was okay. One thing I thought they missed in that studio, people would come by and just stare, but they ended up. I said, "You guys have got to get a great big cardboard cutout of Brent and sit it right at the doorway." And they did. And I'm telling you, Wayne, when you walk up and pass by and you look at that cutout, it was so lifelike. You had to do a double take. And I think people really enjoyed that, getting to see the cardboard cutout of Brent right in front of the studios. It was cool.
Well, I loved it. And what was amazing was when, and it's still there, right? I mean, people walked by and they took pictures with the
Yeah.
cardboard cutout of Brent.
Kind of like at the airport with the president, in the airport stores where they have the cardboard cutout of the presidents.
Well, look, I mean, on the CBS story, they talk about him as being the Pope of sports betting, and I'll tell you, he really is. I mean, it's really been amazing to have him. But at the same time, what's been really interesting, and I know that you've had an important part in all of this, is the development of all of the new talent at VSiN. So whether it's Mitch and Paul in the morning, or Gil, or just all the other Matt Humans and all the other guys that are on the network. I say guys, I mean now it's we have Danielle, and we've got just an incredible group of young people that are kind of making their way into the media industry. What that must be really satisfying for you to see that.
It is, and I will give Brian. I can't take credit for any of the talent that they have. I give Brian and Bill 100% of the credit for that, because Brian has an ear for that. And I'll tell you, there's a distinction, Wayne, between sports radio talent and sports betting radio talent, because they're not the same. The sports radio talent sometimes is beginning to get a little old, beginning to get age. Something has to be done to get more younger people into the sports radio. But when you put the twist of sports betting, then you'll start to see 20 some odd years old show up. So that is really, I think, the savior for sports radio, is to be, as the states that allow it, to be able to adapt and begin to put programming into sports betting radio.
Well, I think one of the things we talk about at all of our board meetings was always about exactly what you just said. There were some really talented sports broadcasters, whether it was radio or TV, that really knew the game and really knew how to talk about it, the X's and O's. But to be a broadcaster and to be a really good talent on VSiN, you need to know that piece plus the betting side of it. And that was one of the really amazing things that Brian and Bill and Steven have been able to do, is bring on the right kinds of people who can do that.
X and O's won't get you there with what we do. Not enough. And you correctly point that out, that there has to be another angle. So away we go.
And you know what then what's amazing is also just the personalities that each one of the different, talent, all the different talent they have different personalities. They do different things on their shows. They're integrating, all new types of things. And it's exciting to see what's happened so far. But now, we were talking about earlier, is now that VSiN has been acquired by DraftKings, what will happen next to the business?
I think
And I
it's
know you
going to
have
be
some
interesting
ideas.
with their resources. I'd love to see, and I'm sure we will see, the rollout of the combined resources.
What do you think some of the things that could potentially happen moving down the pike?
Well, nobody asked my opinion, but this is my own projection, my own, I don't know what you'd call it, my own ideas, and certainly Brian and Bill or Ezra, they have no clue what I'm about to say. But one thing that I thought was cool, when you look at the DraftKings website and you're looking, they'll give the point spread like a game, Gonzaga or whoever they play. There could be a little bit of a drop down menu, not as large one, a little bit of drop down. What does Josh Applebaum think? What does Paulie think? Just not 15 talent for one game. You take a couple of the talents to where a bettor could get more information before he clicks on that bet. So it'd be nice to have a little bit of more background, like Paulie might say, "I'm going with Gonzaga because they never lose in the Sweet 16 till the final game," or whatever. But that kind of information is not there right now on the DraftKings website when you go to bet. Not there. It's one thing.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think about all these things, and I know that the team at VSiN is excited to start to explore all the partnerships that DraftKings has, whether that's with Turner and ESPN, and just all the, as you said, they have incredible resources and a great team, from Jason, on down. I mean, it really is, and it is exciting to the fact that we've been you've had this relationship with Ezra and Brian, and it's been great to sort of see how it's now we've all come together and doing some hopefully do some amazing things together. It's really exciting about that. But going back to kind of the earlier days of VSiN, you were really responsible with and working very closely with Brian about building out the radio network for VSiN. What were your thoughts about getting that started and how it was built?
We started with the action update that we put out that every day, and I just hit relationships that I had. I'd call Boston, I'd call Chicago, I'd call, you name it, Florida, Texas, anything I could get. And we got up to about 170 radio stations that were taking some piece of our product, not the whole 24/7. That's not correct, but they might take a show here or the action update or something that would total up to that number. But that was all just ground level. And I think that's going to have to happen again. I think we'll do that again once that we get our sea legs here with this transaction, that we're going to continue to build out that radio network. And I'm sure I'll be back on the phone to working those relationships again.
Well, you were responsible for really, helping with the transition to iHeartRadio and the relationship, there. I mean, talk about iHeart and that business. I mean, it's incredible what they've been able to put together in the industry.
I spent 3 years at iHeart after I left CBS, and represented them on the NAB board, National Association of Broadcasters. Very known Bob Pittman ever since I was in my 20s. And it goes back to relations, Wayne, all the time, relationships. But iHeart is not really a radio company. No way. I mean, they're a media company. They've got so many bells and whistles and ways to expose product and good ideas that, their iHeart platform is nothing short of amazing. And the best thing I think that ever happened to us was to get onto that platform where we could have our listening measured, where we couldn't do that before.
Well, Dan, I can't, I have to, having you on the show here on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, I've got to ask you about your own broadcasting career and now your acting career. How's that all going?
Well, I'll start with the acting. I'll tell you a couple funny stories. I signed up on this platform called Actors Access, and you sign up, and if you like things, you let them know you're interested, and you just keep on moving if you're not. But there was one that I clicked, and it was the Emmy-winning show, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is a outstanding show. They're in their fourth season now, and I wanted to do this so bad, but they were looking for strip club patrons to go into the strip club, a make-believe strip club where they were going to film it, and as an extra. So I thought, wow. And then they said, you must be comfortable with female nudity. You must be comfortable with atmospheric smoke, and you must be comfortable allowing us to cut your hair into a 60s style. I thought, I don't think so. Well, I couldn't do it because we were traveling. My wife and I were traveling to Florida, so I couldn't do it. But there were a couple of other things like that I really wanted to do. I've got a part in a 13 episode that's going to be filmed later in the year, but I can't really discuss it. You sign your life away when you do those things. But it's a trip. I mean, it's fun to see it's like going out and throwing your pole in the water every day to catch a fish. You never know what you're going to catch. There were a couple of other ones like Mrs. Maisel that COVID really is hard because you got to be tested every day. And I'm due my second vaccine tomorrow, so I should be good to go. But had a wonderful 2-year run at CBS TV, sports television, with doing play-by-play women's basketball, and that was just a blast. And worked with some really great people. That I saw Allie LaForce on TV last night, and Allie and I did 2 games together. But it was. I've had a wonderful run, a great time.
Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear about the show that you're going to be on, and also, you talk about relationships, and that's what we're all about at 76 Capital, and working with the right kinds of people that want to do really big things and want to take shots, and as you said, kind of putting throwing the hook into the water, and seeing what comes out and
see what happens.
And see what happens. And that's what we're all about at 76 Capital. And it's exciting to have you as a venture partner on the 76 Capital side of the business, as well as a strategic advisor to our 76 Capital advisory business. And I know you've gotten an opportunity to spend some time with my partners, Chad and Dan and John. And we're excited to have you and your expertise and your relationships to help all of our businesses as we continue to grow at 76 Capital as well.
I've enjoyed the whole team, Wayne. Just glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we've got James back at the station, always making sure everything's working. I'm saying back at the station, but in this crazy world, I mean, it's who knows where he is, but we always can find James at James Santor. That's where we can find him. And Dan, we can always find you at Dan Mason Sports on Twitter. And Dan is a great follow and has some interesting things to talk about. And I guess as we wrap things up here on our 76 Capital Leadership Series, Dan, any final thoughts on the incredible success that we've seen with VSiN and the deal that we just finished up with DraftKings?
I think that one of the things that separates VSiN from a lot of companies is they continue to evolve. If you look at the start, like the South Point, and then they go to the Circa, and then they're here, then they're there. They're on Fubo, they're on Nessun, they're on MSG. I mean, they're on iHeart platform. So, it's about an evolution. And I think that our guys and our women there are tremendous about looking around the corner and seeing what they could do next. So versus some companies, they don't do that. I mean, they're a little stagnant, and I've been involved with companies like that. But our guys, our team they just keep on rolling down a track. Nothing stops them.
Well, it's been great having you on our show, talking about such an exciting deal for both of us. Hopefully there will be a lot more things that we get to do together, and you'll get inducted into another Hall of Fame, maybe the Venture Capital Hall of Fame or something like that in the future.
I look forward to that day.
But it's been a lot of fun, working with you. And my God, one of the things that I'll miss more than anything with VSiN is our Friday night phone calls with Brian and Bill and Steven.
That's right. I will miss that too. But they know that we're always available for an opinion. We've always got an opinion, so I hope they listen to our opinions. Don't have to use them, but they can listen.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, thanks again for joining us on our 76 Capital Leadership Series. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Wayne. Have a good day.